way things have gone for me, I've had a tremendous amount of trouble with technologically and that little cloud thing and all whiz bang buttons and stuff. And I finally got it sorted. I had my YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook accounts hacked. I don't normally use my Facebook or Instagram much, but it just completely buggered everything up, and it's taken me a while to sort of get everything back organised, and I had to sort of thank my daughter for helping me with that, because I just did not have a clue on how it went. And then to make things worse, I had trouble with some paint drying, which I'll show you where I'm up to on a couple of projects. In the meantime, I've done some shelf coins and finally got the camera to work. You would not believe how much trouble I had with this little camera that I use now until I can upgrade to something a bit better. It just God, just give me strength. Anywho's, the Craz. I'll show you what I have done with the Craz, and this has been giving me a lot of grief. Not the kit itself, but the paint. And where I was at is, and I'm only going to pick this up briefly. I painted this, it'd have to be a month ago, if probably longer, and it 3 weeks it just did not dry. Every time I handled it, it would not. It'll go sticky. I didn't want to strip it because there was so much fine detail in there that I thought I'd break something off, and I didn't know what I did wrong. The paint I've always used, and it's always worked well for me. The only thing I can put it down to, it is quite cold, and I do remember distinctly that the day that I painted this, I had my my room open in my model room, and I had the exhaust fan going in my spray booth, and it was quite cold, or damp, and I'm thinking whether that could have been the problem to stop the paint from drying. It didn't stop the paint from drying on the cab. That's only just sort of got a little bit of a basic coat on that. But what I did in the end to fix it, and I'll explain it more in an update on the build log for this kit, is I went over it again. I mixed up some old Revell enamel, satin enamel. I mixed it up with some automotive general purpose thinner, which was quite hot, and I went over it again and give it a coat of the Revell enamel over the other enamel, and it is starting to dry. I mean, it's not to the point where my fingers aren't sticking to it anymore. I can still smell the paint, which means the paint has dried but it hasn't cured, and that's the delay on anything on the Craz. I started weathering up tyres and a few bits and pieces like that, and I just need this chassis to be dry so I can fit everything else up to it, weather it all up, and then work on fitting the cab, which I painted. I've just had a bit of a flick over it. This is with an acrylic polymer by MIG, part of the Ukraine range, and I also had I got the tray done with all these tiny little photo etch tie down, brass tie down points you'll see on the side here, which you have to fold up and everything. It just was a night on the photo etch tool, and a little bit of swearing, but that's where I was up to with the Craz. While that's been drying, I had a few shelf coins laying about. I had the Airfix Dogfight Double 1/72 scale kit, the BF 110, and the Mark 1A Spitfire. I have got the little Spitfire nearly completed. That's I brush painted that with the little yellow pots that came in the little clear pots of paint in the kit. It doesn't have all the stenciling like the normal kit does, and it doesn't have these little red patches that they put over to make sure when they land they could tell if a gun had jammed. But I have seen Battle of Britain Spitfires without them little patches on it. I did have a little bit of trouble with the decals, not sort of seating properly. I fixed those the best I could, and then I tried a trick that I learnt from the Rebels at Cloud9, and I used Tamiya Extra Thin. Actually, I'll tell a lie. I used Tamiya airbrush cleaner, and just to let you know that this kit has been completely assembled from start to finish using Tamiya airbrush cleaner in an old MIG extra thin bottle that I ran out of. I tipped some airbrush cleaner in there, and I thought, I wonder if that will work. So that Spitfire is nearly completed. I had this is the I just deckled the 110 Messerschmitt. I had to I added a little bit of extra detail inside the interior. I made my own seat harnesses and everything from lead wine foil. I've added the little naughty cross, little swirly things on the back tail because I just wanted it to be pretty authentic. This was also brush painted with the paints that came in the starter kit. Quite surprised me actually. They're not a bad paint. Should I be saying that? Probably, because they aren't too bad if you thin them down and follow the directions. I did mask the areas up with tape as a guide to give a sharp edge, and then where it was a little bit raised when the paint dried, I went over with some 2000 grit wet and dry and just knocked the tops off the where the paint had built up against the masking tape. I've got to mask the canopy up, add the rear machine gun, and do a little bit more detailing. But that was quite a fun little build. As far as the kit goes, and I'll do a little bit of a... I'm going to do an episode about these new tooled Airfix kits coming up soon. There's some that are good and some that aren't any good, as far as I'm concerned. I have got another Airfix Spitfire. This was one that came with the full stenciling. I put the cockpit together on this about 3 or 4 years ago. I had all plans. I've opened this one up, so the door is going to be down on the side, and I decided to cut the canopy into pieces, so have the canopy posed back, slid back on this one, and I bought this one because I liked this scheme underneath, which was the natural metal silver, the white, and the black, and yeah, I just thought it would just be something different. I haven't been very comfortable in spraying silver finishes on aircraft. It's a bit of an art to get everything really nicely smooth and the finish is good, and I took advice from Mr. Frankie Day at Frankie Day Models, and he just uses the Tamiya silver, and I sprayed it just to see how we go, and I was quite happy with it. It's a little bit pigmenty, like you can actually sort of see the silver fleck in it a little bit, but look, honestly, it doesn't look too bad, and I think on a larger scale model it might be okay, but we'll work on that from there. And then I never built a jet, really, like a late model jet, and I had this one in the stash for a long time, which I started and didn't like it. This is the Hasegawa 1/72nd scale F-18. It's a Stars and Stripes model with the Navy, the United States Navy, or the American flag sort of wrapped around the nose. I'm also going to do a video on what I think about some of these kits. It's not that the kit companies are deceiving us. You've just got to study your model kits to find out what it is, because this kit It's absolutely horrible. I paid Hasegawa premium money for it, and if I knew what I knew now, that this kit here, whoops a daisy, was the same as a model kit that I bought 20 odd years ago, which was this one, which I'm finishing off as well. This is the prototype version. So this would have come out not long after the F18 was made. Exactly the same kit. Very, very horrible, not very nice to put together. Lacking a lot of detail in the cockpit, and just a bit disappointing that this one's had a few things touched up on it, a few little improvements, but it's basically the same kit, goes together with the same flaws, and when I picked them both up together, I thought to myself, oh my god, it's exactly the same kit. So this is where things like Scalemates and a few other things can help the modeler in finding some of these things, because if my opinion is, especially with like summer kits, even with these Airfix kits now, when these first came out in Australia, I think they're about $11. Now we're looking at $20 odd. These are a good kit for a beginner. These Airfix Spitfires, the Messerschmitt not so much. Well, it is good for a beginner, but because it just doesn't have the detail that I like. They've gone to all that trouble doing the outside and things that looks good, but then it's sort of simplified in a lot of other areas, which is quite fine if you wanted to have the canopy in the cockpit closed up so you can't see the missing detail and other bits and pieces to get a modeler into the kit. But I still think it's quite a trap if you're not careful. I still think that the Edard, whatever you like to call it, 110 in 72nd scale would be a good kit if you wanted something fairly much detailed out of the box. The other thing that I had trouble with as well was my airbrush. My airbrush really gave me grief. I had to do a super clean on that. What else am I tinkering on with the waiting for the paint to dry is my Wesley from the old Matchbox Rebuilder. I finally made all those struts. I made them out of fine wire. I cut some hinge brackets and everything from scrap plastic card. So I'm just letting this harden up a little bit. The Icky Sticky super glue worked really well. I'm really happy with that. So that's not far off now. Getting some final touch-up work, fitting the Vickers K in the back, fitting the canopy, and getting a dust coat, a dull coat over the top of it, and a little tiny bit of weathering. And the Ingersoll Rand is still working. I got the genetic some genetic railings here, and then I've sort of been watching a few videos, and I thought I will have to run some primer over it. So I went and I had Tamiya primer here and some other primer, and I was practicing on some scrap bits of photo etch, and actually when you bent it, it wasn't etching, the paint wasn't etching into the rail. So when you were folding the rail, it was cracking the paint. I got some Tamiya surface primer for plastic and metal in grey, so that'll make good base coat for the grey rails on that, which I'll start working on again now. So yes, the Ingersoll is getting, it's still being in a stage of being built. And finally, in my mail call, Mr. Doug Hensley, thank you very much, Doug, for the card. I really appreciate it. I've got one of the original cards that you sent me last year, and I really do appreciate the very nice kind words on the back, Doug. It means a great deal to me, and it also, you're a pillar of the community in my group of model builders. It's very, very much appreciated. I also like to congratulate the Bilge Rat, Alex, on his 300 subscribers, and if he stops mucking around with wildlife, he might get his warship finished off. Also, go and check out Aussie Scale Modeler, go and check out Hibbo, and I can't think the other guy from Australia, sorry, but the three Lunos get on and do a live thing on a Friday night. I think from memory, I miss it quite a bit. I sort of say good day in the comments, and that's about it. But look, thanks guys. I do appreciate that to my subscribers who hopefully like to stay in contact. You know, I've just haven't been slack. It's just been a technological. The other thing we'll be working on soon will be I'm going to do a build on the Airfix Penvana Tornado. This is the old Airfix kit, so that one will be going. I've got what else have I got to do? Yep, I've got that to build. I've got a build for our woods, which will be I should have had all this stuff set up properly first. I'll have this build for our woods going on, the Matchbox BAE Jaguar Mark II, the 2-seater. I don't know, we'll probably find out. I'll probably put a vote thing up whether you want it done in this real fancy pants UK version, or we want the camo one from the Sultan of Omanis. Also Wesley and Lyslander by Matchbox. Picked this one up cheap. Decals are absolutely shot. Might have some decals in the we can make something out of the spares, so that's a couple of things are going. And still got to work on finding a Corsair for Frankie Day's Bentwin Bird group build. I'm doing a video build series, quick sneak peek on the 1/48 scale PZL 11C. I've been using Hataka paints on that, and so far so good. Nothing has fell apart. Mind you, the decals were quite a challenge. This kit's supposed to have a stripe on the top of the wing, like the same colour as this pinstriping or band across the end of the fuselage, and well, that thing there went to 1,000 pieces, and so I'm going to have to mask it up. And I've been looking through the bits and paint and all the other stuff I've got, and I'm thinking RLM 65 is a very close match to that. So the PZL is nearly finished, and that's about it really. I've got a few shelf coins left to do while I'm waiting for the Craz to finish to drying. 1/72 scale Curtis Seagull. I got that far on it, and the only reason I stopped is it was natural metal finish, and I went, oh blimey, I'm not real good at this. And I wanted to do the Intermediate Sea Blue, or the Sea Blue version of it, because they used them at the same time as what's the other seaplane? The Duck, the Grumman Duck. They're still using that, and I've got a Grumman Duck that I want to build. And then in this little tub here is the 1/72 scale Airfix 0, which I started, blimey, years ago. And somehow there's a Belinda 1/35 scale Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf in there. He's complete, there's everything there. I didn't even glue the arm on, I can't remember doing that. I think I actually got this Belinda figure back in Operation Desert Storm. So that's how long that's been on the shelf for. I don't know how I'm going to paint it. I'm hopeless at painting figures, especially that camo. Maybe I could do Storm and Norman in his ODs or something, I don't know. But that's about it. Was thinking about buying a Osmos Australian manufacturer. HMO's Vampire 1350 scale. But that's about it. 20 minutes. I've got to go. Be safe, model hard, a little bit of effort. You can get a good result from an old model kit. Don't forget, if you need something stuck, drilled, whatever, go and check out Icky Sticky. And until next time, I'll catch you later.